Hey everybody, welcome back to Growing Up in Scientology. Today we're talking about Julian Swartz covering up rape and pedophilia in the Church of Scientology. Within the organizational structure of Scientology, there are many positions and many people that would be sort of a default receipt of information about rape and pedophilia when it comes up. But it's really hard for me to think of anyone who has more exposure to, more experience with, and more responsibility for covering up rape and pedophilia than Julian Swartz. His official post is the Chief Public MAA AOLA. To break down what that post title means, Chief just means he's the head one. MAA means Master at Arms, which is a naval term that's used in Scientology. MAA is the Sea Org term for an ethics officer. In a Sea organization, there's an MAA assigned specifically to handle staff matters, and there are MAAs specifically assigned to handle ethics matters with the public. AOLA is the abbreviation for the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles, which is one of those big blue buildings on L. Ron Hubbard Way in Hollywood that is specifically responsible for delivering the OT levels to paying public. There's different kinds of organizations in the C organization. Some of them are just management organizations. Some of them are service organizations. Service organizations are ones that exist to deliver Scientology services to paying public. So out of the service organizations that exist in Los Angeles, AOLA is actually the most senior one because it's the only one that delivers the OT levels. So to summarize, Julian's post is Chief Public MAA AOLA. He's the one person at the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles that is most responsible for handling ethics matters relating to the public. In Julian's capacity as the Chief MAA AOLA, he has more knowledge of, more exposure to, and more direct involvement with all instances of rape and pedophilia that get reported within Scientology in Los Angeles. This also includes instances where this is reported by celebrities at the Celebrity Center International, which is in Hollywood, but a couple miles down the street from AOLA. So who is Julian Swartz? Why is he in this position? And why do all these rape and pedophilia cases come across his desk? Julian Swartz is the son of Louis Swartz and the nephew of Fred Swartz. Julian was born into the Sea organization. He has never known a day in his life not in the Sea organization. He was originally posted here in Clearwater at the Flag Service Organization. His father, Louis, was a very well-known and I think pretty well-liked registrar. He was one of these people who traveled around the world raising money from Scientologists, getting them to pay for auditing. Julian's uncle, as I said, is Fred Swartz. For a lot of the old timers in Scientology, they know exactly who Fred Swartz is. Fred Swartz, the last I knew, was holding a senior international executive position called GIEI, Gross Income Executive International, which is a very important position that's part of Scientology's international management structure called the International Management Executive Committee. Senior executive, well-known guy. I've known Julian since I was about 13 years old when I first came back in 1993 to train here full-time at the Flag Service Organization. I keep saying here because it's located in Clearwater and I live in Clearwater. So Julian's post at that time, he was just a kid. He's my age. We're about the same age. I'm 38. Julian's right around there. And Julian's post was, he was basically just an administrative assistant to the senior case supervisor of the Flag Service Organization. Without getting too much into the weeds on the definitions, the senior case supervisor is the person who has the ultimate authority and supervision over all auditing. A case supervisor in Scientology is generally somebody who reviews the auditing notes of an auditing session after it's been completed and decides whether it was done properly or not and issues any corrections. The senior case supervisor of the Flag Service Organization is basically the head honcho over the entire base for technical auditing matters. So Julian's job was basically to be this person's assistant. Anyway, so, you know, even in his early years, he had a supporting administrative role, but at a very high level in the organization. And Julian has some kind of condition where as a child he suffered from seizures. And something happened at Flag where he had a seizure and he fell down and he knocked out his teeth. And this happened after the Lisa McPherson incident debacle occurred here in Clearwater. And after the Lisa McPherson thing happened, Flag changed its policies on what would qualify somebody to be welcome on the Flag land base. And one of the things that will get you either kicked off the base or not allowed on the base in particular is certain medical conditions. Anybody with a heart condition, not allowed on the base. Anybody with seizure problems, not allowed on the base. And this is to protect the base from lawsuits and medical accidents, lawsuits stemming from medical accidents and bad press. Basically, just trying to make sure that what happened with Lisa McPherson never happens again. So once this happened, Julian Swartz, who had spent his entire life here at Flag, was told, see ya, sucker, you're not qualified to be here anymore, get the fuck out of here. And they sent him to Los Angeles, where he became the Chief Public MAA at AOLA. And Julian answers, you know, Scientology organizations all have their own administrative structure and command channel. But the truth is, Julian answers to one person, and that is the RTC rep for PAC. And okay, I use acronyms, I'll try to define them. PAC is Sea Org slang for all of those Sea organizations located on L. Ron Hubbard Way in Los Angeles. So that's called PAC. PAC, sometimes it's defined as Pacifica, sometimes it's defined as Pacific Area Command, whatever. It just means the orgs on L. Ron Hubbard Way. So David Miscavige, who runs RTC, has representatives that answer personally to him or answer personally to his deputy, but they answer to David Miscavige. Miscavige has these representatives called RTC Reps at every Sea Org base around the world. PAC has at least 2 RTC representatives. One of them is the main RTC rep, the other one's called the deputy RTC rep. Julian Swartz answers to the RTC reps. Julian Swartz is kept on this position because he is someone who is a known quantity. He's trusted. Nobody wonders whether Julian's going to up and disappear one day. Nobody wonders whether all this stuff Julian deals with on a day-to-day basis is making him slowly to wonder whether he still wants to be there or not. Julian is their man. That's why Julian answers to them. Julian's seniors could be giving him all sorts of shit, and he doesn't have to give any damns at all about what his seniors are telling him because he really answers to the RTC reps. By the way, I know this because after knowing Julian here at Flag, I later in life was in the Sea organization at PAC, at AOLA. I worked with Julian in the same organization. So I know what he does. I know what his responsibilities are. I know who he answers to. Even ethics matters that come up over at Celebrity Center wind up on Julian's plate over at AOLA because of who he is and because of how trusted he is. And we know all this, aside from personal knowledge, because when Leah Remini talks about her story and how what incidents transpired that led to her eventually leaving Scientology, Julian Swartz plays a prominent role in Leah Remini's story. And Julian Swartz plays a very prominent role in the instances of Danny Masterson committing rape on Scientologists and even a non-Scientologist. And when these things were reported internally, it is Julian Swartz who dealt with these complaints. It is Julian Swartz who made sure none of this information made it into the hands of the authorities. Julian Swartz is someone who routinely covers up rape and pedophilia within Scientology. Sometimes the question comes up or the conversation is had about where should one draw the line in Scientology or when talking about current Scientologists or current Sea Org members. Where should one draw the line between victim and abuser? Like, are most Sea Org members just victims of the system? Which Sea Org members aren't just victims? Which Sea Org members are part of the abusers? This is a very interesting conversation to have, and it can be hard to know where to draw the line in certain circumstances. An argument could be made that Julian, being born and raised in Scientology, is doing what he's doing out of his own concept of protecting Scientology, and he thinks that is the greatest good for humanity and all that kind of shit. And look, that's fine to understand how Julian might be thinking about it. But Julian's job and Julian's actions on his job and what he does on a day-to-day basis has real world consequences. And when someone like Julian he's on a public facing post, most of these Sea Org members where we could make the argument that they're just victims, these are Sea Org members who aren't exposed to the information out there in the real world. They're not exposed to the kind of stuff that might open their eyes if maybe they had an opportunity to be exposed to it. Julian doesn't have that excuse. So that's where this conversation takes a bit of a sinister turn in relation to Julian specifically. Julian has firsthand knowledge of what a lot of these people who've suffered untold abuses and end up leaving Scientology, he has firsthand knowledge of what these people went through. He has firsthand knowledge of how these people have been treated. And none of this has resulted in Julian questioning whether he should continue doing what he's doing, whether he should continue supporting this organization that is destroying people's lives, whether he should continue supporting and protecting this organization that refuses to report rape and pedophilia to the authorities. I have to go out on a limb here, and maybe it's not really going out on that big of a limb, and say, if we're going to draw that line on who's a victim and who's an abuser, Julian Swartz ends up on the abuser side of that line. The amount of cases of statutory rape, non-statutory rape, pedophilia, child molestation that Julian Swartz has personally been involved with, we could be talking something on the order of 50 to 100 cases. That's an estimated guess on my part based on firsthand and secondhand information that I have. And I'll tell you what should really terrify the Church of Scientology. Tell you what should really terrify David Miscavige. The idea of Julian Swartz in front of a grand jury. The idea of Julian Swartz sitting in front of a grand jury having to answer questions without a lawyer present should keep David Miscavige up at night. And to any of the prosecutors or law enforcement officials who have an interest in or the capacity to call a grand jury, just know that Julian Swartz has personal firsthand knowledge of rape and pedophilia in both Clearwater and Los Angeles, both jurisdictions. And you can find probably 20 or 30 people to attest to what Julian's role has been in these cases. It is certainly true that the organizational structure and the policy, the set of policies that exist in Scientology, the structure itself creates an institutional scenario that is highly conducive to child abuse. And it's true that at the end of the day, it is the system that has created this monster. But you can't take a system to court. You can't send a system to jail. That falls down to individuals. It is individuals who are going to go to jail. It is individuals who allow these abuses to occur. And whereas Julian Swartz is not the only one, there are many. Julian Swartz is at or damn near the top of the list of the individuals who are responsible for these kind of abuses being perpetuated. So when the authorities come a-knocking, if all of a sudden the Church of Scientology doesn't know where Julian Swartz is, all of a sudden he's off on a project in South Africa or Australia, nobody really has to wonder why. Julian's hands are so dirty, it's truly hard to put it into words. And I seriously doubt that Julian's name is going to make the cut in tonight's series finale of Scientology and the Aftermath, but that's really why I wanted to do this video. A&E might have its own reasons why it doesn't want to include the exact name of a Sea Org member responsible for these things, but I don't have those same restrictions. Julian, you better fucking watch out, because your day's coming soon. That's all I got for now. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.